Revolver Underground.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Z-Rock, Revolver Underground, here at Toxic Tuesdays at Velvet Margarita Cantina in Hollywood. Hanging out, enjoying the evening. It's a beautiful night here. Really just, it's amazing, actually. I wasn't prepared for this. It's really a nice night.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I'm sitting here. Actually, we're standing here. We're not sitting anymore. We're standing with Jason Sutter. And you've been drummer of Manson, but you have so much more that you're known for. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are some things that you can tell us about that you're just like, no, this was pretty cool?
Other gigs?
Yes.
Like gigs
yeah.
Well, I got to play with a bunch of bands. Before this, I did the New York Dolls.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. One of the coolest, most important bands ever in rock history.
Period.
Wrote the book and the look. And that was really amazing. I got to go with those guys with Motley Crue and Poison, which was an amazing tour because, it's like two bands that never toured together. So that was turned into 3 months for the summer of 2011, I guess, and it was, just amazing to get to hang with those cats, Johansson, and the guitarist was Earl Slick from Bowie's band. He was on David Live and Diamond Dogs, and it was like a history lesson, and they were all 20 years older than me, and super cool, and that was about as rock and roll as it gets. And then we ended up going to Europe at the end of that, a bonus tour, which did Halloween with Alice Cooper for 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness!
It was the Dolls and Alice Cooper.
Wow.
We were old friends, so that was pretty amazing.
That was kind of crazy, though.
Yeah,
right?
it was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was one for the book, but it was just a history lesson every day to hang with Johansson and Sylvain and Earl Slick and Kenny Aronson on bass. It was just wow. And then of course you're hanging, we've got CeCe DeVille and Ricky Rocket and Mick Mars and it's just a hang, a rad hang of just rock history all in one crazy magical tour. So that was great, to get to do that on that level, kind of every kid's kind of dream,
Do you ever sit back and just be like, this actually, I did this happened to me?
Oh yeah, it blows my mind.
Yeah,
I'll be in Japan and when I was with Manson, and I'll hear Personality Crisis at Rock Bar, and I'm I feel like I've got David Johansson's warm arms wrapped around me. He's like a father figure in a way to me, and it's
that's awesome.
Everywhere I go when I hear that, that memory, it blows my mind. It was this happened, and I used to, the drummer who did the gig before, who helped me get the gig, whenever he was in LA, I would go out and see them. I wouldn't miss a show, and it's they're like the Stones when the Stones were great,
right.
72. That's how they sound now. So to be able to get to play in that band is was a dream come true. So yeah, I savored every fucking minute of it.
Right.
You can bet, yeah.
That's there's so many. I'm sure there's so many cool stories you could write 1,000 books just on that.
Yeah, just the quotes, every word that comes out of Johansson's mouth is a soundbite. It's hilarious.
I can't even imagine. I can't even fathom that.
Yeah,
that's
and just everything. They still act, look amazing. When you're young and you're imagining what rock and roll is going to look like as it gets older, it's if it looks like that, it's going to be pretty fucking cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's pretty amazing that these dudes are still living a life.
Yeah.
And they're cooler than everybody else around them, and they always have been. So they probably always will be. So amen to the Dolls. But so I did the Dolls, and then before the Dolls, I did Foreigner, which was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I did Foreigner for a year and plus, and got to play on a record that's on iTunes, Foreigner live at the iTunes Festival in London, and just what a trip that was to get to play with those dudes. And Mick Jones was in the band still, and it was cool, man. It was really cool and just totally, not something I expected I would ever do.
Right, yeah.
And I grew up listening to those jams and killer band, and they're still touring. And so, yeah, it was getting to have your cake and eat it, too, to get to do that. And then the Dolls. And then Manson, of course, which was incredible. And before the Dolls, before Foreigner, I was doing Chris Cornell from Soundgarden.
Yes.
And we did 3 years together. It was supposed to be maybe a year, and it ended up being 2 records in 3 years. And it was
so he liked you then.
Yeah, we got along. We got along great. But yeah, it was incredible, man. Such a cool fucking dude, and he sings better than ever. And so yeah, that was really, mind-boggling, and a chance to kind of get to show your shit, to get to go out and play, which, you always kind of hope you get that gig where you can kind of go out and show off a little bit, but with a certain amount of respect. And so that was a gig that really took a lot of technical ability, and it was fun to get to do that, and musicality, I guess, if you would say. So, the Dolls is more punky, and Manson's really industrial and strong and metal and a lot of things, which is really fun about the Manson gig, is there's so many many genres that he covers, and it swings at the same time. It's got a swing to it, even though it's kind of hard, and that was sexy and fun about that gig, and to get to play with those guys and Twiggy.
Which gig was the hardest to learn? To the songs, the way they did it, which person was?
I don't think any of them were that hard. It's just more like interpreting it. I mean, definitely physically, the Manson gig, there's a lot of double bass shit, that it was programmed, and it's like, you don't have to play it, but I wanted to play it, and I was like, if I'm gonna do this shit, I'm gonna play it, you know. So that was challenging for me because it was such a switching gears, some of the song, and then you'll play like Dope Show or something really groovy and swingy and glammy, and so that's to be able to switch gears like that, I think that's challenging, but otherwise, that was I don't know, it's tough to say. I mean, Cornell was pretty brutal. The Soundgarden songs are pretty much like a drum solo every song. And he would have me play like 3 drum solos a night. Woo! Literally, or 3 a night.
Wow.
Some were, shorter than others, but there was one that was massive. And he just couldn't get enough. He wouldn't, most singers leave the stage when the drum solo to like towel off or smoke a joint or whatever. And he would just sit on my drum riser and just close his eyes and just shake his head and get into it. So I think I was playing the solo for him more than anybody.
Yeah,
really. So
that's pretty cool though. I mean, that's a really really good experience just to be able to have that type of person just stand there because it's in awe kind of
all
almost.
Those dudes to be able to play with all those guys. I mean, everybody I've named, everyone in those bands are they're royalty, and so it just to be able to be in that presence and get to make music with people like that, man, I definitely don't take it for granted.
With that being said, Toxic Tuesdays is about bringing people together, whether it's music industry,
I love
entertainment.
It. Tracy Wiedemann rules. She
team management. Yeah.
I met her with Foreigner. She was doing production for Foreigner. We were out with Styx. Foreigner and Styx, Kansas was the tour, one of the summer tours, which is fucking incredible if you think about that, right? It was like my dream in like 1978. Those bands, and I'd play the jukebox when I could barely reach it.
Yeah, right.
And now to be on tour with those guys and hang and imagine what it was like. So that was incredible. And so Tracy was on that. We kind of hit it off because she and I were like the younger people, as you can imagine, which was cool. So we could kind of like get our groove on and go have drinks after the shows and stuff and hang. And we kind of hit it off. And then, she kind of, ended up, she was tour managing Manson. So when the position opened up, she threw my name in the hat too. So that's the whole thing, like this Toxic Tuesday thing. That's why I'm here.
That's what it's about.
Because it's like you got to go out, you got to meet people, and you got to keep those connections going. And if they're as cool as Tracy, it makes it easy. And I think, every time I come here when I'm in town, if I can make it out, I'll come by and at least have a drink and say yo and see her. And, you never know who you're going to meet. And that's, that's why I'm in LA and that's why I'm at this hang right now.
Absolutely. And what a better place to have it in Velvet Margarita Cantina. I mean, this place is amazing. Just simply amazing.
It's
great place to be.
Great hang.
I love
food,
petting the walls. It's fantastic.
I love the paintings.
Joyous,
The paintings are my favorite. And I like this outdoor bar.
This patio situation is happening.
Hear it. We're outside right now, and it's like pretty rocking, man. It's like this is like the party's kind of out here right now.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I mean, you can go back inside when you want to hear some awesome tunes. You can come out here when you need to just take a break and hang out and enjoy the weather.
Yeah,
and
it's
fantastic.
Very rock and roll. It's good.
All right, so tell me this then. Last question. So, I deal a lot with independent artists.
Sure.
What advice would you give to new starting, just up and coming artists that are just getting into the game? What advice?
Wear earplugs.
Wear earplugs, always.
That's a tough one, man. I would say, if you're an independent artist, definitely try to, stick to your guns while you can. You know what I mean? Because this business is getting harder and harder, and it's shrinking. It's like this, shrinking around you. So it's like, if you're starting out, you may not get as many tries as I got or other people because the business is smaller. So, if you're going to do it, man, stick to your guns and, really, you got to really be dedicated and go for broke because you may only get one chance in this business right now.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say, man.
That's very good advice. I think a lot of bands need to hear that because it's saturated so much these days with the internet, just having the internet.
Everything sounds the same and everything. So if it's like you got to really try to be able to bring something new if you're an indie artist. And so, to me, I've been signed to a bunch of bands back in the day and had and that's awesome. But this is an entirely different playing field.
Yeah.
But I think with the social media and everything, I think that opens up a ton of doors. So in a way, you have an advantage. But there's no question the business is getting smaller.
Yeah.
So go get them, Tiger.
There it is.
Good luck.
There it is right there.
Keep rocking in the free world.
Jason, thanks so much for hanging
Thank
out.
you,
Do
man.
appreciate that here at Toxic Tuesdays at Velvet Margarita Cantina. Have a good night, man.
You too, man.
All right.
On.